Greetings. Welcome to Chapter 4 with Time Rider. Murphy's Law tells us that if anything can go wrong, it will, and at the worst possible moment. For this project, I decided to present a straight-up restoration of the Matchbox 6C Euclid 3-axle quarry truck. Since I'm relatively new to restorations, I've been trying to stick with what I considered to be easier projects so I can get my chops up, so to speak. I encountered a few problems during this restoration. My research seemed to suggest that the 6C came in only two variants, those with a black hydro sleeve and those with a white hydro sleeve, the white being far less common. That being said, I know that there is a variation in the wheels as well. Most pictures show a standard 7mm wheel on the front axle and 3 inset wheel type on the rear axle. I purchased this truck on eBay with a lot of Matchbox that I got for about $3 each. The grille on mine was not silver, and the wheels were not the inset type. Perhaps it was an early version, as the truck was produced from 1963 to 1967. The cab, chassis, and dump chassis were all the same color, so they would need paint. I decided to remove the axles and the wheels because of this. It was also necessary to remove the pin that held the dump chassis and the hydro sleeve. Once I disassembled, I would end up with quite a few pieces to restore. The axles had some rust, and the tires were in need of Marty's tire dressing. First things first, of course, drill out the posts. I'm using a larger drill bit here to kind of bring the posts down to the level of the chassis before I drill holes for tapping screws. This particular cab made it kind of difficult to drill the center holes, but I was eventually able to do so to my satisfaction. I kind of had to hold it with my finger because I couldn't really get the whole thing into my padded jaws of my vise. Then I used stainless steel screws that I saw on another artist's channel that threaded themselves as I screwed them in. I've generally used citrus stripper. I've said before I like the smell better than most strippers. So I sprayed it down and took a brush and spread it liberally over the parts that I needed to strip, and waited for the stripper to work. And waited. And waited. And waited. And after what seemed like forever, nothing happened. The stripper had no effect. Yet another restoration artist suggested a product called Aircraft Stripper, a product available at auto parts stores. The stuff is fairly expensive, so it is really like liquid gold. It did have the benefit of working. So, once the paint started to peel, I took a little tub of dishwashing fluid and a toothbrush. I don't have a wife, so it couldn't be my wife's toothbrush. And I set about cleaning away the majority of the paint from all of the pieces. I swear I spent an hour with dental picks, wire brushes, and toothpicks before I had the pieces ready for primer. I'm using a Tamiya light gray primer recommended by another restoration artist. And while I received no funding, here are the two new products that I used on this restoration that I had never tried before. Tamiya X8 Yellow seemed to be the same color as the original truck, so I decided to use this without changing the hue at all. Another modeler gave me a recipe for my own thinner. It's basically alcohol, water, and a little bit of glycerin. I use it sparingly to thin the paint just a little so it'll come out of my airbrush a little better. And then it's time to spray. Of course, I try to keep the part moving as much as I can. And with this dump chassis with so many different angles, you have to turn it a lot. A little bit from this side, a little bit from that side, to try to hit every side. Once the first coat cured, it was time for the second coat. I didn't record any of the assembly because I had trouble with the wheels and some other things putting it back together, partly because I don't have a drill press or a lathe. All in all, though, I was pretty happy with the end result. There was a slight flaw in the paint, and I wound up having to do a little bit of touch-up on one part of the truck, but I was pretty happy with it. So here you go, the final reveal. The Matchbox 6C 3-axle quarry truck. This is Time Rider at Chapter 4. Thanks for watching.